Let's talk more about this with Tom Borelli. He's a contributor for the Conservative Review. Tom, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Tom, Hodgkinson clearly had a lot of anti-Trump rhetoric and sentiment in his social media posts. Do you think that this is something that should be classified as a terrorist attack, if it is indeed, which it seems to be, politically motivated?
I prefer, hopefully, a failed assassination, because I believe this was targeting political people, not the general public, which is sometimes terrorism designed as terror among the general public. This looks like, from his Facebook posts, that he was a Bernie Sanders fan, volunteered for his campaign, liked wealth redistribution, didn't like Republicans, didn't like Trump. And I'm concerned that a lot of the extreme rhetoric that's really been from the left, a lot of Democrats as well, has kind of fueled someone like him and pushed him over the edge.
And that's a point that's been made, because we are in an extremely politically divisive time. And when you have such examples of a music video where Snoop Dogg is assassinating the president, when you have Kathy Griffin holding up a decapitated head of what's supposed to look like the president, and very recently this Shakespeare in the Park play where the president is stabbed to death. Do you think that this normalizes violence against Republicans?
That's my deep concern. And this is where Democrats really have the sin of, omission. When people are standing up with such, extreme rhetoric, why can't the Democrats say this is unacceptable? We can't, let's play politics with policy issues. Let's not deal with, extreme rhetoric when an entertainer stands up and holds a decapitated, mock head of President Trump. All parties should say this is unacceptable. Instead, that action, really kind of got a muted response.
Now, Tom, some would say that this particularly intense rhetoric has only come about in the Trump era, and that it may have a lot to do with the way that he expresses himself. What do you say about that?
I don't think so. I think it's really the frustration with the left, and especially those on the far left, that are just outraged that President Trump is in the White House, and they are committed to do almost anything to stop it. We saw Madonna, the entertainer, talk about, thinking about blowing up the White House. And this is clearly unacceptable. And that's where the Democrats have to step up. And by the way, former vice president candidate Tim Kaine, now the Virginia senator, he said we need to take it to the streets. We need to fight in the streets. And oh, by the way, his son was arrested trying to stop a Trump rally. So this is where we need adults in the room on both parties, but especially the Democrats, not just to sing Kumbaya today, but going forward, when entertainers step out of line, Democrats need to step up and say, no, we can't have this. This is not our political system.
But then you run into the question of freedom of expression and artistic expression. So where does one draw the line?
Well, they're free to do it, but we should then criticize them and not endorse it. I mean, that's the real key. I mean, with the play in the park, this Shakespeare in the Park, I think it was Fareed Zakaria of CNN called it a brilliant production. I mean, this is really over the line. This is where we need adults in a room, in the media, in politics and business, to say we're not even going to be near any of this. When you have to, they can free to say it, but they need to be then punished in a public square verbally. That's all. And
you certainly are seeing businesses back away from this, back away from sponsoring things. I've always maintained that shareholders want businesses to be apolitical, to generate as much revenue as possible. That's
you would think, right?
That's what we want, not to take a side on any issue. But
cut your market in half.
Exactly. But in terms of unity, do you think that this could be a healing moment? We did hear from Paul Ryan today saying how Congress is united here. Let's take a listen.
We are united. We are united in our shock. We are united in our anguish. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
Tom, can that sentiment translate into more bipartisanship on some real issues?
I hope so. And it may happen for a short time within the House, but we have to really be concerned about those on the left who have really been fed propaganda ever since Trump has been elected. And this is the real concern. In fact, today, a representative, Claudia Tierney, got a threatening letter, an email, said 1 down, 216 to go. So this is what we have to really be concerned about, copycats.
Well, that is a concern. But, Tom, some could say that people on the right are being fed propaganda from people on the left.
Right, but the question is if you're going to act on it.
Right.
And I think today what we saw is someone acting on the propaganda, the sense of outrage that they're constantly being fed. If you have that view and if you're on the edge, you can easily be pushed. And I'm afraid that's what happened today.
Well, we don't know that for a fact as yet, but it does seem to be the case. All right, Tom Borelli, thank you so much as always.